Am I the a-hole for not paying for my stepbrother's tuition? 9 years back. I was 17 years old and just about to finish high school, and my little brother was only 10 in the middle of elementary school. During this time, our mom was really sick with a long-term illness, and it was a really hard period for us. Eventually, our mom passed away, which was incredibly tough on both of us. After our mom died, I started feeling really down and depressed, which is like feeling sad all the time without knowing how to stop. Not long after our mom passed, within a year actually, my dad decided to remarry. That brought two new people into our family, my stepmom and my stepbrother, who was just a year younger than me, 18 at the time. Luckily, they were both pretty cool, and I got along with them pretty well, which made things a bit easier. However, right when I turned 18, which is a big deal because it's when you become an adult, my dad made a surprising decision to ask me to move out. I wasn't expecting that, especially on my birthday. Thankfully, my boyfriend at the time was really supportive and let me move in with him, but that meant I had to figure out how to support myself. So, I balanced going to college for 4.5 years while working almost a full-time job. It was exhausting, but I managed to make it through. After all that hard work in college, I landed a fantastic job as a manager. This job wasn't just any job, it paid really well. So well, in fact, that I could pay off all the money I owed for college and even start saving some. Through all these years, my brother was super important to me. He was pretty much the closest family I had. Fast forward to August 2019, and history sort of repeated itself. My brother, now a teenager, told me that our dad was kicking him out just like he did with me. My boyfriend and I knew we had to help him, so we invited him to live with us. We asked him to follow three simple rules: no getting into trouble, help out with a few chores around the house, and keep his grades up at school. He really stepped up, he followed all the rules, and even got a part-time job to help with buying groceries. During this whole situation, my brother and I didn't really talk to our dad, which was tough. But we did keep in touch with our stepbrother. We didn't see him just as a stepbrother anymore, but more like a real friend, someone we could count on. So, last summer, my brother started his first year of college. Before he went off to college, I made him a deal. If he kept following our simple rules, staying out of trouble, helping around the house, and keeping his grades up, I'd pay for his college tuition. He stuck to his end of the bargain perfectly. He's been doing amazingly well in school, getting top grades in all his classes. I'm super proud of him because he's not just scraping by, he's excelling. Now, here's where things got a bit complicated. Somehow, my dad, stepbrother, and stepmother found out that I was covering the college costs for my brother. It turns out my stepbrother is also gearing up to start college this coming summer. However, they're in a tight spot financially and would have to borrow a lot of money to afford it. Because of this, my stepmother decided to reach out to me directly. She was pretty straightforward and asked if I could pay for my stepbrother's college too, just like I was doing for my biological brother. I thought about it, but I decided to say no. My priority was supporting my brother, especially given our past and how we only have each other. Paying for my stepbrother's education wasn't something I felt obligated to do. This decision didn't go over well. Just 4 days ago, after I said no, it seemed like everyone on that side of the family, the aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, started blowing up my phone. They've been calling me nonstop, accusing me of playing favorites, which has been really stressful. They've labeled me with nasty names and haven't let up, even though I've tried to explain my decision multiple times. It's been a tough few days because the pressure from the family is intense, and it feels like they're not trying to see things from my perspective at all. They just keep demanding and criticizing, which has really been getting to me. Edit. So to clear up any questions about whether my stepbrother still lives with my dad and stepmom, yes, he does. He turned 18 back in mid-November 2020. Despite now being an adult, he's still at home with them, which is a bit different from my situation when I was his age. Now, regarding the family drama since I refused to pay for my stepbrother's college, the calls and messages haven't been just from distant relatives, they're coming directly from my dad and stepmom as well. It's really intense because they've all started calling me out, accusing me of not caring about family. It's tough to hear, especially considering the history. Here's something else important. My mom, who passed away, doesn't have any family left, so when it comes to family support or backing, I'm pretty much on my own. After I was kicked out years ago, I tried to reach out to my dad and stepmom and others, but nobody responded then. This moment, with them asking me to pay for my stepbrother's education, is actually the first time they've reached out since that whole ordeal. The whole situation is quite draining. They didn't talk to me for years, and now they suddenly remember I exist just when they need something. It makes the constant calling and accusing even harder to handle, because it feels very one-sided and unfair. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. Some nerve to toss you and your brother out the moment returnee teen then turn around to ask you to support the other kid. They don't want to bother with. Daddy Dearest is a piece of work from the sound of it. Just send the family the link to the subreddit The Thread. To be honest, they could use many people telling them how hellish they are. Not home. Call them out for kicking you and your brother, and ask why this parenting suddenly showed up for your stepbrother. If your dad says crap again, tell him he should have been more frugal with the savings when his dumbass decided to have 2 kids and pick up a third, and be enough of a bum to not afford sending a single one to college. Also, is your money not theirs? Your family's going to wet and moan and lazy? Cut their crap from the get-go. I mean, really drive it and how little you care about to their opinion. Now they have no say since they weren't this outspoken when you got kicked out. Side note, I was in a similar situation and had nobody there to help me. So reading this made me really feel for you. Be proud of you and hope you and your brother succeed with everything you do. Yeah, Dad should definitely pay for stepbrother's tuition because he paid for his children's. Oh wait, no, I mean they should definitely stepbrother out as soon as he turns 18 and not care what happens to him. Same as Obi and her brother. Now they can relax and not have to bother making all those phone calls. Not now. They have a record of kicking you and your brother out of the family home. That suggests that your father and stepmother saved themselves a bundle of money and kick out the stepson since he's now 18 years old. How ridiculous that they expect someone that they kicked out of their lives should finance the education of someone that they kept at home. Look at how much money that they saved over the years by throwing out teenagers at the age of 18. It's not your problem that they failed to save a dollar for stepbrother's education, not their home. What's with all the people in this world thinking they're entitled to other people's money? I honestly cannot wrap my head around it. Sounds like you lived with stepbrother for less than a year before being kicked out. If you're not as close to him as your brother, your dad only has himself to thank for that. It's only natural that you might favor your brother over your stepbrother. Also, sounds like a stepbrother hasn't gotten kicked out yet, and his parents are at least willing if not able to support him. There's also nothing stopping him from doing what you did, getting a job and supporting himself. Where are all these family members? When you got kicked out at 18 and had nowhere to go? Why don't they all chip in and pay for stepbrother's tuition if they are so concerned? And now, for the update. A few hours after I shared my story online, I started wondering how my dad's side of the family even found out that I was paying for my brother's college tuition. It was supposed to be a private matter between me, my boyfriend, my brother, and my bank agent. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to dig a little deeper to figure out how this information leaked. After some sleuthing, I discovered something shocking. A friend of my stepmother, who works in the administration office at the college, had told my stepmother about the payments. This was a huge no-no because it's a clear breach of privacy. Colleges aren't supposed to share that kind of confidential information without permission. Understandably upset, I decided to take action. I got in touch with my lawyer, and we're now preparing to sue her for violating my and my brother's privacy. This kind of information leak is serious, and I want to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. As I was dealing with this, I decided to go back and read through all the texts and messages I received from my extended family. Something about them had been bothering me, but I couldn't put my finger on what exactly it was at first. The tone and the way they accused and blamed me just felt off. It seemed like there was more to their reactions than just being upset over my decision not to pay for my stepbrother's college. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what's behind their harsh words. Feeling the need to clear the air and understand everything fully, I decided to organize a Zoom meeting with my extended family. During this meeting, a big revelation came out that explained a lot of their behavior towards me over the years. It turns out, after my father kicked me out when I was 18, he told everyone that I had chosen to run away because I was unhappy at home. He painted himself as the disappointed parent. He spun a similar story about my brother when it was his turn to be kicked out. This misinformation led our relatives to believe that neither of us wanted anything to do with the family, which is why they never reached out to help or support us. Realizing they had been misled, and considering that they had 9 whole years to question this or reach out, I felt very betrayed. It became clear that these family ties were too damaged to repair. After the meeting, I made the tough decision to cut off contact permanently. I blocked their numbers and decided that it was healthier for me not to hear from them again. Despite this, my father, stepmother, and stepbrother didn't give up easily. They kept calling me repeatedly, but after learning how they lied about my brother and me, I felt even more justified in my decision. I didn't bother to answer their calls anymore and eventually blocked them as well. My brother and I agreed it was best to move on from these toxic relationships and go our separate ways, focusing on building our own lives free from this negativity. Going forward, I've decided to cut ties with my entire extended family. It's a tough choice, and honestly, I do feel a bit sad about it, especially when it comes to my stepbrother. We actually had a pretty good relationship, more like friends than anything else. However, during this whole ordeal, he sided with my dad and stepmom and supported the way they spoke to and about me. Seeing him align with them made me realize that maintaining a relationship with him might not be worth the emotional investment, especially if his support was conditional on financial benefits. There's a possibility that his actions were motivated by financial interests. If he genuinely cared, perhaps he would have stood by me or at least questioned the false narratives. Their accusations that I am somehow responsible if my stepbrother doesn't succeed professionally are baseless and manipulative. They never supported me when I was struggling and had to fend for myself. So their attempts to guilt trip me now just don't hold any weight. I'm standing firm on my decision. I managed to carve out a successful path for myself without their help, and I'm confident my stepbrother can do the same if he chooses to. My focus now is on the people who truly matter, my brother and my boyfriend. On a more positive note, we're all moving to a new city next week. It's about 45 minutes away from where we currently live. This move has been in the works for months, so it's not a reaction to the current family drama. It's a fresh start, a chance to leave behind the negative and build our lives in a new place, surrounded by peace and positivity. So, I'm moving to a new city soon, which means I likely won't run into any of my extended family members anymore. We've all lived in the same city up until now, and even though it's a pretty large place, there was always a chance that I could bump into them. That's something I'd rather avoid. They don't know about the move, and I have no plans to tell them. Even if they somehow find out, it doesn't really matter to me. From this point forward, as far as I'm concerned, they're out of my life. My boyfriend, my brother, and I will keep living together, just the three of us. We formed our own little supportive family unit, which means a lot to me, especially given the situation with my own family. Regarding my boyfriend's family, they are quite large, but they live on the other side of the world. Because of this, I've only met them twice in the decade my boyfriend and I have been together. Thank you to everyone who has reached out with kind words and support. It truly helps to know there are people who care and understand my situation. Your support has been a bright spot during this tough time. Now, for the top comments. Your lawyer is going to have a field day with that employee. If they aren't fired already, they will be when the case gets settled. Colleges generally settle these complaints. They were already put out of office after I filed a complaint. Be sure to receive any emails, texts, and voicemails as evidence of you getting harassed as a direct result of that employee's choice to violate your privacy. I think it most disappointing to hear that your stepbrother, whom you considered a friend, if not quite family, was behaving just as entitled as dad and stepmom. Very glad to hear that you're moving your new little family away from all this drama. Yeah, but you have to wonder what her parents told him. I mean, if they told the entire family that she and her brother went away, they could have easily told her stepbrother that she had promised them should pay for it and is now backing out. I'm glad you're pursuing a case against the friend of your stepmom. That is outrageous. That's beyond messed up. I'm glad you cut them out of your life. You have your real family already. So true. And it really makes me wonder why on earth her extended family never thought to reach out and ask why she ran away. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for buying my own laptop? After my dad sad, I had to share the one he gave me. So last year on my birthday, my dad surprised me with a present, a laptop that had been used before. It was super cool because I really needed it for school and for writing stories, which is something I love to do. But then, a bit of a problem popped up. My dad's wife's son, who's 12 years old, also wanted to use my laptop. At first, it seemed okay to share it a little, but soon sharing wasn't so easy anymore. He started using the laptop a lot, like for hours and hours. And guess what? He wasn't careful with it. He messed up the keyboard so badly that the keys got all sticky. That's not all. He even messed with the stories I saved on the laptop. Sometimes he added his own stuff to them, or he accidentally deleted some of my work. It was really frustrating. I was so fed up with this that I told my dad I didn't want to share the laptop with him anymore, especially if no one was going to make sure he treated it right. My dad's reaction? Well, he reminded me that he was the one who bought the laptop and basically said that if I wanted something just for myself, I'd have to buy it with my own money. Here's the thing. I've been working a part-time job and I've been saving up some cash. So, what did I do? I went out to Best Buy and bought myself a brand new laptop. And not just any laptop, but a really nice one that was all shiny and new, not used like the last one. Now this is where more drama kicked in. The 12-year-old got really upset because he liked my new laptop even more than the old one. And my dad? He was mad too. He called me ungrateful. He couldn't understand why I wasn't happy just sharing the birthday gift he gave me. He said it wasn't a big deal to let his wife's son use it, but I think deep down, he knew he was being a bit unfair by saying I should buy my own if I wanted full control over it, only to get mad when I actually did it. Even though I solved my problem by getting a new laptop, my dad and his wife's son are still pretty upset with me about it. They think I should share my new one too, but I feel like I did the right thing to make sure I could keep doing my schoolwork and writing without any trouble. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. Your dad is a huge a-hole for giving you a birthday gift, then making you share it with his wife. Son, yeah. Like not opposed to giving a gift with the intention of making a group of people share, but A, of that intention should be made up front. B, there needs to be ground rules sets about set items use. Especially when at least one of two parties sharing is a child in CE, it shouldn't be done for an occasion where the expectation is to give personal gifts, birthdays, graduation, other personal milestones. I agree with most of this, except that it needs to be personal for a birthday gift, if the expectation is that it's a shared gift. But you're the one receiving the most benefit, it's still fine for personal holidays. That is family car, and 17-year-old's birthday. In this case, the age to me is that is pissed that he bought his own because he decided he didn't want to share it anymore. Not the a-hole has given you a gift, then demanded you allow someone else to use it. That someone has messed up your gift and its contents, and your dad did nothing. You then rationally want to buy your own version of gift so the kid couldn't mess with it and has got pissed because you've rightly made him look daft. I don't fully blame the kid as being a bit of a pain in the butt, but his 12-year dad is a male, however. Plan to have laptop, but make sure to keep it away from grubby prying hands. It password will stop him logging in, but not from smearing it with jam in a process. 12 is old enough to learn that you can't always get what you want, and that if someone is letting you use something of theirs, then you take care of it. All they're doing is encouraging the kid to think he can do as he pleases without consequence as LP. I would definitely make sure you take the laptop with you when you are not home or have somewhere secure to keep it. Because it seems like if the kid gets his hands on it and ruins it, no one is going to do a damn thing about it. Not of the a-hole. The problem with your own money. If it was actually birthday gift, it would have been your computer in the first place. With only you deciding what happened to it since you were forced to share, then clearly the original laptop wasn't yours. Therefore, claiming it as a birthday gift has the same effect as buying groceries and then handing you a bag of chips as a gift and saying share with everyone. It's something the family needed disguised as a birthday gift. Tell your stepbrother or whatever he is how you got it. Maybe you'll be a good influence in motivating him to work hard. Also, lock it up when you're not using it and put passwords on ends and disable guest accounts. Otherwise, he might use it without your permission. Yeah, I put a passcode on it. Also, I have, like, this chest with a lock under my bed where I keep stuff I don't want to lose, so that's where I put it. Now for the update. A few weeks after I snagged my shiny new laptop, things at home got a bit frosty, especially with Dad. It wasn't just the laptop drama anymore. There was a weird vibe every time we were in the same room. It felt like he was super disappointed in me, like I'd let him down big time by going rogue with my laptop purchase. I figured it was time to clear the air, so one night after we'd both aimlessly watched TV for a while, I asked if we could chat. Hey Dad, can we talk? I feel like things have been kind of off since I bought my new laptop, I started, watching him carefully. He looked a bit uneasy but nodded, muting the TV. Yeah, it's not just about the laptop, you know? It's just, you're making big decisions now, and sometimes I forget that you're not just a little kid anymore, he confessed, almost whispering the last part. I let out a small sigh of relief. It wasn't just me feeling the tension. I get that, Dad, but I really need the right tools to work, especially with college on the horizon. I want to be responsible for my own stuff, and that means not always sharing everything. He looked at me for a long moment, and then something in his expression softened. I guess I was just caught off guard. You're growing up, and that's hard for me to catch up with. And maybe I was wrong to push you to share your birthday gift like that. Feeling the mood lighten, I jumped at the chance to maybe smooth things over even more. What if we help him get his own? We could look for a secondhand laptop online. He'd have one all to himself, and I can help set it up. Dad's face brightened, a full-on smile. That's a great idea. Let's check out some options this weekend. He paused, taking a sip of his coffee before adding, and I'm sorry for calling you ungrateful. I see now how hard you've been working. As we planned to hunt for a laptop for my stepbrother, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I'd stood up for my needs, but I'd also found a way to patch things up and bring us back together. Not just as a family, but as a team working through the growing pains of life. Now, for the last story. Would I be the a-hole if I abandoned my baby siblings and father? So I'm 22 years old and living at home with my dad, my two younger half-siblings, they're 5 and 7, and my stepmom. Right off the bat, let me tell you, my stepmom and I, we just don't see eye to eye on pretty much anything. Things have gotten so tough between us that I've started to look for a new place to live because staying at home is becoming really hard. But there's a big problem with moving out. My dad and stepmom really depend on me a lot. They both work super long hours and can't afford to pay for daycare for my little siblings. Normally, I don't mind helping out and looking after them, but it's turned into a full-time job. Because I'm always busy taking care of them, it's been super hard for me to find a job for myself or do anything else really. Don't get me wrong, I love my siblings a ton, and I'm not mad at them or anything. It's just that I wish my parents had asked me if I was okay with being the main person to take care of my siblings before just assuming I'd do it. My dad, who raised me and my older sister by himself after we were little, has told me that he really doesn't want me to move out. He's kind of scared, because my sister, who's now 27, left home for the same reasons I want to leave, and he doesn't want to go through that again. My dad is a great guy and worked super hard to take care of my sister and me when we were kids. This makes me feel really guilty about even thinking about leaving. He and my stepmom have also made it pretty clear that if I leave, they'll be in a tough spot both emotionally and financially because they'll have to find someone else to take care of my siblings. I'd be willing to stay if things at home weren't so stressful, but living with my stepmom is driving me up the wall. It's gotten to the point where I feel really down and sad all the time. I've tried to talk to her about how we can make things better between us, but she doesn't really seem interested in fixing things. In fact, she basically told me that if I'm not happy, I should just leave, just like my sister did. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, trying to figure out if I should move out to save my own sanity or stay to help my dad and siblings, even though it makes me miserable. It's a really tough choice. So will I be the a-hole if I abandon my siblings and my dad and break his heart in process? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole, not your kids, not your responsibility. Beyond that, they could have made an effort to be better to you. My dad has made an effort but is old and is often tired. He often says that he wants to keep it close at home since he doesn't think he has much longer to live. And this makes me feel even more guilty about leaving. Yeah, my dad has given me that exact speech for 25 years now. He's still here and still being manipulative. That's what that is. Manipulation, not the a-hole there. Kids are not your responsibility. I understand the guilt you feel, but you are not abandoning anyone. You're 22. You have every right to move out and start your life. Best of luck to you. My sister left me behind when she moved out, and I always felt like she abandoned me. I admit that a part of me was resentful that she got to leave and be happy when I could. I don't want my younger siblings to feel the same way about me. LP. That's because your dad probably made your sister take a parental role to you, and it's hard for kids to understand. I suspect you now understand more the reasoning as to why your sister left. It's not your responsibility. Your parents chose to have those kids, not you. And you shouldn't be held responsible for their care, especially since that is limiting your ability to start your own life. It was less her being a parent to me, and more of the fact that both of us knew that whoever was being left behind would be the primary punching bag. And she left me with that room knowing what would happen. I do understand now why she left, and I'm no longer a center for it. I'm just trying to muster the same courage she had, which is difficult because I can't stop feeling like such a horrible person. Now for the update. As the days passed, the stress of living at home started to weigh even heavier on me. It wasn't just the constant clashing with my stepmom anymore, or the endless hours spent babysitting my younger siblings. It was the feeling of being stuck in a life that wasn't moving forward. My friends were either finishing up college or starting exciting careers, and here I was, feeling like I was treading water. One evening, after a particularly tough day, my dad noticed my downcast mood as we cleaned up after dinner. "You've been really quiet lately," he observed. "Everything okay?" I hesitated, not wanting to unload everything on him, but it spilled out anyway. "Dad, it's a lot. I love you and the kids, but I need some space to figure out my own life too. I feel like I'm missing out on so many things." Dad was quiet for a moment, his face a mix of concern and understanding. "I know it's been hard and I hate asking so much of you," he admitted. "Your stepmom and I have been talking and we might have a solution that could help." My ears perked up. A solution? That was the last thing I expected. "What kind of solution?" "We're thinking about adjusting our work hours, maybe even getting some help a few days a week," he explained. "We want you to have time for yourself, to find a job, or go back to school if that's what you want." This was a huge relief, but there was still the issue of living with my stepmom. Sensing my hesitation, Dad added, "And we know things have been tough with your stepmom. We're going to try family counseling. It might help us understand each other better." The idea of counseling didn't magically fix everything, but it was a start, a real, solid start. Maybe, just maybe, this could work. Later that week, I sat down with my stepmom for coffee, the first civil conversation in months. It was awkward at first, but as we talked more about mundane things, the tension eased slightly. She even mentioned looking forward to counseling, hoping to reset things between us. So, that's where I'm at now. Not out of the woods yet, but seeing a path through them. I'm cautious, but hopeful that these changes might give me the breathing room I need to decide my next steps, whether that includes moving out on my own terms or finding a new way to balance family and personal growth right where I am. It's a tough choice, but it's starting to feel like it's mine to make.